no, I don't think you can. The rain's become a kind of a mist thing now. So I'm not sure you could even see it, but it was slamming it down a minute ago. Who would have thought? Yeah, talking to you in a wooden shelf in torrential rain, that there could be any problem with that. Probably someone who would have thought to bring an umbrella as well. According to my iPhone app, I have a few minutes before all the rain starts getting bad again. So, might be a little bit hurried today, but hopefully this will be useful. Hello, I'm William Gallagher. This is the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos. Normally it's one where I tell you I happen to write something and then ask you to disagree, but in this case, totally different. I'm going to tell you how I do something and then ask you to disagree. I mean, I want the chat. Writer, you're a writer, I'm a writer. We have all of that comment section below. It goes on forever. Let's have a nat. I really don't see the point of having these videos if it is just me gassing on at you. Okay. This time, this one's actually a sequel. Previously on the 58 Keys Writing Workshop, there's a video about what I believe works well for you if you are on stage interviewing other authors. And I want that for you. I want that for you for all sorts of reasons. You get to meet the authors. You get to be part of that literary world. You have the best seat in the house. It's great. There will come a time, though, when it's you being interviewed on stage. I've just said on stage a couple of times. I want to be clear here. There are differences between interviewed on stage and for broadcast or for, obviously for print and online stuff. We're only doing stage today, and a reason for it is I think it's the one that might make you the most nervous, although I could be projecting there. I mean, you're sitting in a reasonably comfy chair, you're on a stage, there's an interviewer in there. It's not going to be hostile. This isn't an adversarial kind of interview. You're an author probably plugging a book or an event or something like this. But there's the interviewer, they're going to ask you some questions you're going to be obliged to answer. And there's an audience watching if you get it wrong. So here are some things that I think would be good to keep in mind. I do think for you, to help you do it to a way that you're happy about, and a way that will ease any nerves through it, but also I'm thinking of your audience. I'm always thinking of the audience, what you can do to make the best event for them. So I would start with this. This is a kind of practical thing. Before you go to the session at all, write yourself out a very short description of yourself, because you're going to get asked. So tell us about yourself. I just personally as an audience member, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather get into the meat of it, and I find I learn about what they've done through the rest of the conversation, but you will be asked, so have something particularly short and ready. I mean, actually, if you just prepare this bit, and you can be reasonably sure it's going to be the first, nobody's going to wait till the end to say, tell it. You're reasonably sure. It could be like a way of easing yourself into the whole thing, of settling down, knowing you've got this in hand and ready. But just whatever it is, you got to make it short. I mean, for example, I actually wrote one so that I could say it to you here. So would you mind asking me, so tell us about yourself. Very well delivered, thank you. I'm William Gallagher. I make the 58 Keys Writing Workshop videos. I've written Doctor Who, radio dramas, and I've flown helicopters. Okay. The important thing there is not whatever I've done or said. It's that I gave you three things. The first one was that I make these videos. The first thing needs to be relevant to what it is you're talking about. So if you are promoting a book, it's something incredibly brief about this book. I wrote this book under the influence of drugs. I wrote it to spite my writing group. I wrote it because I wanted to examine the very essence of soul. Whatever you like, but short. Okay. First thing, directly relevant to what you are there to talk about. Second thing, something you're most proud about, or something that you might be best known for. And then the third thing, try to go for something crazily different. I mean, unrelated to any of the first two. I've actually done this when I'm applying for jobs. It's such a long time since I've applied for jobs. Never take my advice on that. But I used to do this thing of, what was the box called on forms? The one where everybody would write proficient in Excel and stuff. Wherever there, I would do the 3-part thing. Directly relevant, thing I'm most proud of, something crazily different. And I believe that what it gives you is it's succinct. It gives you people bullet points about yourself, but it also implies a range, that you have all of these things. I mean, the helicopter thing at the end, that's what that did there. The third one is so different to the other two. Since it's you, I'll tell you, I only had a couple of lessons, just couldn't afford, helicopters are so expensive, but my instructor did tell me I'm a natural at hovering. Not 100% sure it was a compliment, but okay. So you have that, you trot it out. Maybe the interview will ask you something about one of the three, but probably not. They're going to go straight into what the rest of all of this is about. And I can't cover you there. I don't know what you'll be there talking about. But if it is a book that you've written, or a set of poems or something like that, if it's a screenplay, this will not come up. But for anything printed, really, I think this applies. There's a decent chance you're going to be asked to read from it, read one or more excerpts from it. And so, you know, if somebody asks you to do that, of course you're going to, but do it the right way, okay? I keep saying the word short. Is it obvious in this case? Make it a short piece. There is a temptation to go long here, especially if it's going well and the audience is, you know, obviously with you. Then you want to read the whole book, you know. And there's a bit of you that thinks this is eating up time with the interview. I'm safe here. This is good. But instead, keep it short. It's really important because I keep thinking a lot of your audience will be there because they are interested in the book, possibly they're interested in you, but some of the audience will be there because they're waiting for the next event. They have no interest in you, they've never heard of it before. This is your chance to, if not convert them, to get them to read your stuff, then at least to divert them for a little bit and give them some entertainment for it. You read them a short excerpt, but that excerpt I think needs to have certain features. Did I mention short? Yeah. How short is short? A chapter, it seems like a long way to me. A couple of pages at the most. If it's a poem, well, you're reading the poem, aren't you, really? Okay. But look to make it something that works on its own. I mean, sometimes the start of a book is good because then in a way it doesn't matter that you've had to. But there's a time when I did it and I actually had a specific limit that was given to me of how much I could read. It was actually the launch of a book, so there were loads of us reading things for it. And I read the start of mine and then I was able to say, and now I can't tell you anymore. And we haven't even met this character yet. And I got a big laugh and it was all into it. It was great. Try to give something self-contained. If it can't be self-contained, like one standalone poem, then make it the start of something. Try to make it so that maybe they're leave them wanting more, great, but not have them needing to know anything on the way in to it. And if you can possibly make it a funny bit of your book, that would go well. If you're asked to read a couple of things, okay, hope that you're not asked to read them in sequence, I mean contiguously. Hopefully you can come back to the seat and I'm imagining you standing up at a lectern reading, but whatever it is, hope there's some gap where you're asked some more questions, because you reading bits and then reading bits and then maybe reading bits, it's really boring. I don't know how to say this without insulting poets, and I couldn't conceive of deliberately wanting to insult poets. I can't write poetry, I love reading it. How about I insult bad poets? Should we do that? Yeah, between us. Okay, because you know there are some. When you go to, I see this actually mostly in poetry events, but I know it happens in on-stage interviews as well. You have the poet reads a piece, gets applied applause, it's all very nice, and they believe the applause, so they have another one. And I remember hearing this guy saying, my next 3 poems, but oh God, please no. But then I saw an interview with Liz Berry, the poet, once, and I never wanted her to stop. She was so good. Actually, it was just riveting watching her read the stuff. Just this thing, because she was sitting down in this interview section and she had the book in the hand and she was reading it, and it's just marvellous poetry, and she has this great voice that just takes you everywhere. But while she was holding that, her other hand was really incredibly expressive. And I suddenly realised she normally stands up at a lectern to do it, and the book is in front of her on a stand, and she's probably gesticulating with both. I actually got slightly distracted by the hand movements, so that's good. But great work, read well. That's what you want for it. And of course, it's a treat to be asked to read your work. So don't ever never try to duck out of it. Do try to make it short. Pithy is a good word, and works on its own. Okay. After that, I made some notes here because this one's on my mind a lot. I would like you to take it for granted that no one is there to see you. I find this actually helps me with, imposter syndrome and stuff. I figure they're there because they know the book and they like the book. That'd be good. They're there, this thing, if they're waiting for the next event. That really appeals to me. I feel a little freer for it. But also, I've seen authors get really rather egotistical about this. I mean, there they are on the stage. There's a spotlight on them, and all these people have come to see them. And when the author is egotistical, whether they are right to be that proud of themselves or not, I think it kind of oozes out of them, and I find it a bit, dislikable. You can hear it in my tone. I find that I like when I think the author has shown up to play, that they are there, that they are engaged, that they are really glad to be in this point. And why wouldn't you be glad to be being interviewed in front of this audience at this great event? That's the attitude to come in with. But also, I mentioned this in the one about what to do when you are the one interviewing people. It is really, really good if you and the interviewer can have a chat beforehand, because I see it as not you being interviewed, but the two of you making a show for the audience. What is it that the interviewer wants to get out of this? What can you do together to make that happen? What's the best kind of thing? Also, just as part of that, I realised in the previous one I talked about when you're interviewing one, two or more authors on a panel, there are going to be times when you are going to be one of several people on a panel being interviewed. And in that case, the only difference is when you are not talking, when you are not being asked anything, be incredibly interested in whoever is answering. You are almost like a substitute for the audience there. You are expressing an interest in it. I mean, you're being polite for a start. You're also concentrating on that other author and giving them the attention they should. And you're also not distracting. You remember the thing with the hand? Even Liz Berry's hand was distracting me. So if you're going, if you relax because you're not on, well, then you are noticed because you are on. From the moment you step in up to that stage, sit that down. It's like a game show. Sit that down. As soon as you sit down, you are on. Microphones are live. Everything is on. You are performing from the moment you get there to the moment you leave. I think from the moment you arrive at the event to the moment you get home, or into the car, or whatever. But you are always on. You are always performing. Your job, when not being asked a question, is to listen to the other. If you get the opportunity to ask a question yourself, I think that's great, because I love panel events that become a proper conversation between everybody, all of that stuff, but concentrate on whoever is speaking, whatever it is. I said it's not going to be adversarial. You still need to concentrate on what the interviewer is asking you, because you've got to answer it. I'm not going to say to you that you should ever bend your answer. The politicians thing of, oh, that's interesting, but of course the point is, and then you say whatever it is that you came to say. You could do that, I suppose, but you're never going to be asked a hardball question for it. I think be willing to say, what have I done? I think I've said, I don't know. Can we work this out? And we have a proper chat about whatever it was for it. And then I've learned something from the interview. That's great. Don't avoid questions if you can. Be fully engaged, but that does also mean fully listening to the interviewer. I cocked this up once. Actually, this is a radio thing. There's a radio broadcast. I mean, she does many other things, but Charlie Jordan was doing a thing down the line from, I was in BBC Manchester, I think she was in the Midlands for it, and she threw me something and I missed it. I answered it, and I answered it fine, but she basically just handed me the opportunity for an anecdote that she knew. Because she knew me, she already knew it happened, and I missed it. She threw me the ball and I dropped it. So yeah, nothing you can do about that now. It's years ago, still on my mind. She's all right about it. Yeah, I'm not. Listen carefully, and if you've worked out before there are certain things you want to talk about, you'll probably be given a cue for one of those then. So work with the interviewer beforehand, work with the interviewer during the session for it. I do think that whoever is interviewing you, right, they're forming a bond with you as a representative of the audience, okay? In fact, there are always going to be questions, but what typically happens is the interviewer asks you the main questions that everybody wants to know and then throws it out to the field, to the audience for it. Try to remember names if you can. You don't often get told this. I've been told it on radio sometimes. Somebody's phoned in for it, and I've actually written down their name so that I can refer back to them during my answer. And in that case, I remember actually something somebody else said kind of linked back, so I was able to say, like, I think it was Fiona, that's the one, the example's in my mind, like Fiona said earlier, you this and this. I like the fact that that kind of knits things together. If you get a chance, you're unlikely to get names, aren't you? I'm thinking about this through picturing all the ones I've done that were on stage. On stage, what you get is somebody asking a question, this is for you, this is for all of the panel, or not so much a question, more a statement. Yeah, leave that one to the interviewer to deal with. Okay, but try to think of a response in case the interviewer can't bat that one out the way. When you're asked a question, right, obviously you answer it, of course you do. Remember that answer for later, because it's really good if you can throw back to a previous question with the answer for it. Remember this thing, you're creating a show, you're creating a cohesive event with the interviewer, with the audience. And I love all this stuff, and I could go on about it a lot. How about this? Let's cut this back down to something more basic, more practical, kind of. I should have plugged this in the last one because I've actually written a book about how to do interviews, and it is meant for us as authors, but actually it's meant for us as authors who are interviewing on stage. Yeah, there's a section in there, but it's more about research and stuff like this. It's about getting the most, finding the people to interview, hopefully persuading them to interview, and then getting what you need out of them, whether that's factual reportage, whether that's colour and detail for your novel, things like that. It's this book. I hope I've just pointed in the right direction. I'll put a link below. And the real reason for mentioning it is that I think having written that, it codified for me how I should act to be the most useful interviewee that I can. And because it means also I can end with a story. I just really thought that was a rain there. I can end with this because I really like this. I was once interviewed by somebody, a young woman during university, I think a PhD possibly, not sure. She asked me for an interview, fine, and we did it online over a Zoom call, right? But it was going to be, well, I didn't assume she was definitely going to use my words, but if she did, it would be in print in whatever document she was writing. So it was done over Zoom, and it was being recorded for training purposes. It was being recorded so that she could have a transcript of it, and I suppose I could as well if necessary. But it was freer than on stage. I was able to stop and ask questions, and after a bit I had to ask a question because she's interviewing me away, and I'm thinking, this is really familiar stuff. I mean, I thought that was a really good question, and I'm sorry, I feel so smug telling you this, but let me off. She'd read my book on how to interview people, and I started to suspect it, and after a while I had to ask. Yes. I may never have been so big-headed, because I mean, obviously somebody reading your work, of course it's going to be great, and this woman, she was clever, she was asking really good questions. I felt kind of on the spot from times, and I think I performed adequately for what she needed, but still I just thought, that's my book there, it was great. Anyway, go on Amazon, have a look at the free sample or something, see if it's useful to you. I really do think that knowing how to interview helps you be interviewed as well. You understand the process, I think, are more comfortable in the process. You know what's being aimed at. And I think understanding that removes any of the ego thing that is so abhorrent when you're watching a smug author like me. Yeah, that didn't work. Time to move on. Okay. Listen, I'm not sure it's loud enough for you to hear yet, but I can. The rain is starting up again and I'm going to get soaked on the way back to my office. So let me just say, that's definitely it. That's definitely the last thing I had to say about this. We might come back to this, particularly because of the thing I say about stage interviewing being different from broadcast and online and all that stuff. We'll come back to it maybe in a while. But for now, that's it for this edition of the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos. Thank you very much for watching. Now comment below. That's the whole point of this conversation. Take care of yourself as well. That's another whole point of this. Also, you could write more. I'm thinking you're not writing enough. Back to projection, aren't we? And I'll see you soon.